Hello, hello, hello. Happy Friday, everybody. Peggy's here. Hi, Peggy. Hello. I'm waving at you. So today we have a little bit of a different setup. You don't get to see my face today, unless I like to stick my head in here, which we're not going to do, because we had a request from a Happy Doodler that they wanted to see some watercolors. But before we go any further, I always like to do a little audio and visual check. Please let me know in the comments if you can see my hands and my watercolor setup just now. And also if you can hear me. I'd like to know if we're good. Bit dark, do you want me to just try and... That's literally where we were. Okay, Craig's going to try and brighten us up a little bit. Do you need the step? There you go. How are we doing? Let me go to the computer and see what everyone's saying. Hey! Hi, Peggy. Hi, Marcy. And Peggy is saying A-okay. And sound is good. Yay! Fabulous. Thank you, Craig. Sorry for bushing into you. So somebody needs to go and find Amy Corson and tell her to get her butt over here, because I'm doing tonight my Come Craft With Me using watercolors. And so it'll be a little bit different to my usual Come Craft With Me, but hopefully you guys will enjoy it. And I'm still going to be making a card. I'm making a card using this stamp set, which is called You're Weird, and also using this stamp set, which is called Rescue Dogs. Now, this was a request by Amy, who said if I could please help her get some inspiration with these two stamp sets together, but using watercolors. There was a couple of people saying the other day that they don't really use alcohol markers to color in images, and they were looking for ideas and inspiration for other things. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Marcy says, oh my gee, I have that one too. Yay! Perfect. So you'll be able to recreate this if you have some watercolors. So in this video, I have got a top-down view, but I also have this view for you, which is a little bit closer, and hopefully then you'll be able to see those lovely watercolors working together as we do some painting. So if I just check for Craig, I'll be painting about here, so hopefully that will work absolutely beautifully tonight. What am I going to be doing? Okay, so I'm going to be stamping my critters and coloring them in. But I'm also going to be creating a background on some watercolor background on a watercolor cardstock. Louise is here. Hey, Louise. And as well as that, I'm going to be coloring in a moon using this stamp set as well. So I might end up going back and forth between them, because sometimes I want things to dry before I do a second layer. Other times, maybe not. Who knows? So let's start off this evening with a little bit of a quick chat about what I've got on my table here, because it is different from what I normally have. First and foremost, I've got a ceramic palette here, but any sort of little palette with little wells that you can put your mixture inks, your paints in will work. Oh, sorry, changed my other camera, sure. Yep, this one. And then I also have some water. Now I actually have 3 jars, jam jars of water, and I mean 2 will work, but I'm using 3 because I like to keep 1 jar completely clean water. Okay, and then the other 2 jars, I'm going to use one of them for getting the paint out of my brush, actually 2 of them for getting the paint out of my brush, but with one of them I'm going to use cool colors and the other ones I'm going to use warm colors. Now your cool colors are your blues and your greens. Your warm colors are your oranges, yellows and reds, and the reason that I would put them in different tubs is because if you mix them you're going to get a big muddy mess. Now it really doesn't matter, you can just go and change your jam jars and change your water, but keeping them separate just helps me prevent the need to go and clean my jam jars out so much. So I also have got some paint. This is the Kuretake Gansai Tambi palette, and it was purchased from Amazon, good old Amazon. What's wrong? 3. And you can see here that I have on the lid swatched this so I can see what all my colors are going to look like. And the other thing that I have is a little Winsor & Newton. You're going to stay here and press buttons all night. So a Winsor & Newton palette. This is just I think it's called the Students palette or something. It's just a little travel watercolor, and as you can see, it is well loved. Each of my my little watercolor pans have a big gouge in them, and I'm going to go between the two of them because it really doesn't matter. Any sort of watercolor will work for this. We're not creating masterpieces, we're just having fun. Now, what else do I have on my table? I have a paintbrush. Actually, I have multiple paintbrushes on my table purely because this is where I keep all my paintbrushes, and it's handy just to have it on my table so that I can grab it. I anticipating using this one the most, which is the number 6, but I'm also going to use a nice big flat brush. This is a 1-inch graduate flat wash brush because I want to wet my paper, or I might use one of these Beastie Boys. This is just a cheaper one from the Works, I think. And then I also have some little fine detail paint brushes in here. This is a 2. I don't know what I'll end up using, but probably these two the most. I've also got a water mister, a water bottle here with in a little spray bottle. And that's if I'm doing a wet on wet technique and I want to make sure my paper stays wet, I can give it a little spritz with that. And I promise it must seem like 100 million things at the moment, but it's really not. And I also have a little, this is a plastic serving paddle. I bought it at a grocery store. It's supposed to be for serving your like cheese and things, but it's just a plastic, almost looks like a little wooden chopping board thing, but it is plastic. And I got this because I would bring it to like Starbucks if I was coloring in, because if the ink goes through, I don't have to worry about it. But this is actually perfect for taping down my cardstock because this is plastic. It's not going to ruin, like the wood would absorb it through, it's going to sit underneath it. So it also means then when I am playing with a wet on wet technique, I can maneuver my cardstock around and help get those colors run together, and I can set it to the side and work on something else while I'm doing it. If anyone has any questions in the meantime, please go ahead and shout. And I think this is lastly, I have got 2 different ink pads here. Now you will know from watching me that Memento Tuxedo Black ink is my fave, but he is not going to be on the starting line today because he is going to run, he's going to run like mad if I'm using it with watercolor. What we need is a waterproof ink. Now this one here says waterproof dye non-smear with watercolor, so that sounds good. This is the Finesse by Spectrum Noir in the Noir black color. And then this one here is actually a pigment ink, which confused me, but it's the VersaFine Clair Nocturne. But it does say in the back, perfect for using watercolors to color stamped images. So you know what, we're going to try both of these little guys and see what we can do with them. So first and foremost, what should we do? Shall we do our background first? Or shall we stamp and color in our images? What's your thoughts, everybody? Let me know in the comments what you would like to start with today. I've got my moon, a couple of dogs, a little spaceship, and I've also pulled out the whimsically wonky imperial rectangle dies here, and I'm actually going to just trim this down ever so slightly to about here. What do you think? Maybe color the images first. All right, we can definitely do that. Perfect. So let's make a start with stamping these guys. And I'm still going to use my Misty. And what I might actually do is test drive it a little. This is a little offcut that I took off the bottom of that piece of watercolor cardstock. And let's test it out. Pop you guys over there for now. And we will start with the VersaFine Clair. Now some of these, do you guys have any experience using either of these ink pads? I'd love to know. Let me know in the comments. The VersaFine Clair or the Finesse or Finesse, whatever you want to call it, by Spectrum Noir. So that is the Clair. Let's put a little C up here. Please remind me if I go off camera because the cameras are in a different spot tonight. So I'm not used to where they're pointing. So it's quite possible that I am going to be off screen. So I'm going to be relying on you guys to help me get back on track. I'm just going to stamp the same stamp with this Finesse ink pad and we will try it out. Marcy says, I use VersaFine Clair for embossing and for coloring watercolor and watercolor markers. So I've used it before with embossing, but I've never used it just straight with watercolors. So my question is, have you just stamped it and then watercolored, or do you use a heat tool to heat set it? I would like to know the answer to that question. Certainly this is a dye-based one, so you can see that my ink is not wiping off. I can use a stamp cleaner that will get off the dye ink. I'm really not going to worry about that just now. So then this one is the Finesse. Let's see if we can have a look at these. So initial thoughts with these two images is that the Clair definitely stamped clearer and the Finesse has a little, bleed is kind of too strong a word, but it's a little fuzzy, the line, whereas this one is really crisp. So let's go ahead and heat set this. So Marcy says that she heat sets hers and I would probably do the same. So let's go ahead and do that. And we'll stamp the others using VersaFine Clair as well. Now this is a heat tool. This is a Ranger heat tool. It has been around for about, where are we? About 20 years, 21 years. So it's been through the mill. It's been repaired about 4 times. It is not pretty, but it works, and that's all we have to worry about. Let's go ahead and stamp out these other critters while we're at it. Although some of them are not critters, I shouldn't say critters, they are images. Other images. Okay, first things first, let's stamp this moon. And the really fun thing about this moon is that it is a half moon. But that means that you can turn it around and stamp it again the other way around to create a full moon. And that's what we're going to do today. Lovely. I'm going to try and make sure I get most of the ink of this before I lay it down again. Like so. Now I'm going to lay this down and move it up, looking at where my stamped lines are here, just until it touches. And if it is off a tiny little bit, that's what we just take a pen and we just connect the dots. That's what we're going to do. Doesn't matter. Hi, Lesley. Lesley is here. Hello. Come to join the fun. Oh, there's a tiny little gap here. You wouldn't even notice it. So I think we're happy with this. So we've turned our half moon into a full moon. And like I said, that's from the You're Weird stamp set. And we'll go ahead and stamp these other bits from this stamp set as well. The UFO and then the glass dome for the UFO as well. And once I've stamped everything, I mean, probably after the live, before I put the stamp set away, I will spritz my stamps with some stamp cleaner, which will get that dye ink off my other stamp as well. Happy days. All right, so just one more little guy to go in here. In fact, I wanted him to go in here, so why don't I just stamp him right on in here. So this little Dougie Wuggy is going to be living in the dome. He's going to be flying the UFO today. Let's stamp that right in here. Now he does overhang at the bottom down here, but that is going to be tucked behind our UFO, so that will not matter one little bit. All right, now we've got our images done. Put my Misty away, and I've got these little guys. Peggy says, that is so cute, little Leica. Yes, exactly. All right. So, where did my paintbrush go to? we're going to actually, so I want to have my background, and I'm going to cut my background out using my whimsically wonky rectangles. And I'm either going to have the moon in the middle or maybe down in the corner like this with a fun watercolor background, almost like an aurora borealis, I think. And then I'll have my little guy in a UFO probably here, and then this little guy flying over here as well. So for my background, I'm thinking yellows, greens, and blues. So why don't we go for reddish colors for this guy. Hi, Suzanne. Hello. Where are we going to start? We're going to start over here, and I'm going to grab a slightly smaller tube paintbrush as well. So when it comes to watercoloring, hoping you can see that. I'll try and keep my hand out of the way. There's a couple of different techniques. You can just dip your paintbrush into some water. Oh, I also forgot to mention I have kitchen roll or paper towels. And simply pick up some color and start painting. Now, when you do this, you get a fairly blocky piece of color. It's a completely valid way to paint. That is not a problem at all. There's loads of techniques out there which I know you guys can look up and will love. Now, I like to do wet on wet. So I have washed my paintbrush and dipped it in my clean water. Oh, do you know what I didn't do? I didn't heat set these. Let's go ahead and do that. Hey, Suzanne. If anyone in the comments does watercolors, let me know what ink you use. I'd really love to know. If you're new to watercoloring stamped images, my recommendation would be to actually heat emboss and then color it in, because it will actually help, it'll create little barriers, little walls, so that your watercolor does not escape. Okay, so I've wet this whole area here. Hopefully you can see. And I'm going to take some browns. And touch it to the wet area. And it'll travel along that wet section. I can also take my brush and push it along for a nice gradient effect. Already this ink, I can tell, is bleeding a little bit. Watercolor is so therapeutic though. Here I'm just picking up a little bit of color and dabbing it on and moving it around. Fill that area. This area is still a bit wet, so with a darker brown, you come in just along the bottom here, and that creates a little bit of a shadow. It's like whenever we use Copics, etc., the darker color in these areas. That'll create a nice little shadow. Marcy says, I have some watercolors by American Crafts called Paper Fashion. It's a 12 pan set. Ooh, nice. So many really nice ones. There's some by, what's her name? I don't think it's, is it Wendy Vecchi? Maybe it is, or Vecchi, whatever. There's ones that's like, they almost look like sweetie palettes. They're very pretty. I almost want to be able to eat them. Wash my brush, but these areas are still a little wet. Dab that in. Dry my brush and blend it. I'm hoping you guys can see okay on this camera setup. A dry brush will help you get harsh lines, and a wet brush will help you get more transition and blended lines. And I could talk about it all day, but guys, honestly, if you want to learn how to do it, you have to just play with it. I also recommend playing for fun. Don't be worrying about it looking amazing, because here's the thing with watercolors, you're not in control, guys. Sad but true. You're not going to be in control. The other thing about watercolors is that it's going to work best in layers. So I'm going to be going between the two of these little doggos, building up layers of color. Tracy's here saying hello from Central Florida. And Marcy says, I want the Gansai Tambi ones. I have to say that the Gansai Tambi are very, very pigmented, which is lovely. They take up a lot of room in your craft desk, I will say that as well. And they're really nice for lettering, if you like lettering. Really good for that. All right, so far I've used browns. Hopefully you can see this all here. Here's my little doggo so far. And this one. And I've pretty much used 2 colors as well as water. I've used this light brown, which is like a tan color, and then this slightly darker one. Marcy says it's a teeny bit far, but I can still see. If I move any closer, though, it goes out of focus. All right, so let's make sure my brush is cleaned in my warm tones, and I will put it into my clean water, and I'm going to pick up some red now. And I'm going to color this guy's cape. And I'm going to do the same over here. This guy's going to have the same cape. I'm going to color them the same, I think. Now, you may have already noticed that my paper is already starting to buckle. If you prefer, you can tape your images down. will prevent some buckling. I'm not too bothered. What else have we got? Let's go for a black nose. Now for the black nose, I want it to be quite dark, and also I don't want it to run. I want it to be quite solid. So I want to make sure that my paintbrush is not too wet. I'm just using the very tip of my paintbrush, and definitely not putting water down before I color for those little noses. So next up, let's do, this guy's got a little harness on, which I am always in love with. And we'll go for yellow with that. And I wanted to show you something else that you can do with your watercolors. I find it particularly useful, especially if I'm using like a pan like this. What I'll sometimes do is take my mister or like a tea pipette and do like one drop in each of the wells or the pans, or you can just do one little spray in your pan like this. Now that will now marinate. Amy's here. Hey Amy. That will marinate for a little second and get all the pigment moving. And you'll see now that it's very pigmented. I really enjoy using these for doing lettering and things, but I like the way that these ones I can get more like values, more variety of, like I can use one red and have it really light and then have it really dark. Whereas with these ones here, I feel like a lot of the time it's very much pigmented. That almost looks like I've colored it in with a solid color. But once again, you can come back in with different colors like the red, put a few little dots down there. And move it out a little bit. Now here I've put too much red. Can you see? Put too much red over where that yellow is. And here's a little trick. Take a piece of paper towel and scrunch it up into a little point like this. You see? And then take a brush, dip it in water, clean water, and just add a little bit of water on there. And then pick it up using the tip of a paper towel. And that will actually remove the water. It has sort of reactivated the watercolor, and I'm able to pick it up and get back to that yellow color that I was looking for. That's fun. And let's come in now with some other colors on this, guys. What's the word? Cape. Now here I have added some little channels of the paint, and they're lying here like almost like little rivers. I can't move it or else it'll blow away. I'm going to set that to the side to dry and then do the same over here. I wonder if I could do it a little bit closer or up at an angle. So I have quite watery. I'm doing little lines down. Batteries are done. like this. And I'm going to leave that to dry. You see the darker lines on there? And that'll dry a little bit darker. Amy says, watercolor is more my thing than alcohol markers. I got rid of alcohol markers. I use watercolors, colored pencils, and other water reactive mediums. That's so cool. I love that for you. All right, let's go ahead and do some yellow on his mask as well. And should we do a blue color? I've not done any blue yet. Now the other thing about paints, which you'll see here, as I mentioned earlier, this is a very well used palette. So I have taken a lot of ink, not ink, sometimes I say ink, but I mean paint, and taken it over to this side. Now the great thing is I can actually take some water in on my paintbrush and reactivate whatever's over here. And that means, for example, this sort of mauve color in the middle, or this orange color where I don't have a paint pan that is this orange color, it's here, and I can still use that orange on my projects. So you just pick up the color and color in. Really simple and fun. Now I'm using my other water tub for my blues, and let's go ahead and pick up some of this orange. And come in again with a little sort of darker areas on my yellow and blend it together. We'll do this guy's mask in yellow as well. And while it's still wet, bring a little bit of that orange in and dab that into the corner. Dry off my brush and just, I do like little tapping motions, and that just, I like to help it along to blend from one color into the other by tapping it along. Now let's mix up a pink for the tongue. So I'm going to need a little bit of red here. And I'm going to use white. Some people are very, I'm going to say it, they're a bit snobby. They're a bit snobby about using white. In that some people are of the opinion that with watercolor you never use white. You use the color of the paper. You don't need to use white. That works if you've got a pink on your palette. I mean, I do have a magenta pink, so I could use that, I suppose. But this one is a little bit of a softer white, so I like that better. Amy says, I clean it out between projects if the lid gets too full with the new colors I created for that. Oh yeah, so you clean this out between projects? That's cool too. There we go. So these have dried a lot more, and you can see the crisper lines now. So I'm enjoying that a lot. Now let's go ahead and add some darker patches to this little guy using a brown. Maybe we'll color an ear, and maybe in here. The great thing about doggos, apart from the fact that they're awesome, is that they can be whatever color you want them to be. They can have patches wherever you want them to have patches. Now I did say that I want that these dogs are going to be the same sort of dog, but I'm not that bothered that they're exactly the same. Oh, doggo. But we'll try in some way to add some patches in the areas that match. All right, they're doing good. I'm going to set these to the side and start working on my background because I think that's going to take a bit more time. And then I'll come back and do the glass and the UFO. Put them to the side for now. Now, I did say that my background is going to go onto an A2 note card. So here I have a A2 size die. And I've cut down a piece of watercolor cardstock that's a little bit bigger than this. And I also have some masking tape here. And I'm using my die as a little bit of a guide. Because have you ever, because I have, painted a background and then gone, yeah, that's the right sort of size, and then you realize it was too small for the actual for the die. So you have a big white like patch at the end. You have like a big white section down the side. Rude when that happens to me. All right, we'll flip the camera view here. Mush that down. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is get this area really, really wet. Now, you can take a mister and spray it all over. That works too. I'm going to use a flat wash brush, some clean water, and I'm going to move this all around. Picking up some water, mushing it on here. A little tip actually, which I didn't do in this instance, but I have in the past, is when we tape this down, it makes it more manageable. It tries to contain the paint, but also as soon as you hit the water onto the cardstock, it starts to buckle, as I mentioned earlier. And if I'm working on this side will buckle first, and then the surface is no longer flat. So this is a way of, when you tape it down, it makes it stay as flat as it can, but it will still buckle because that is what paper plus water will do. Now, some people iron their paper once it's done, their watercolor paper once it's done. A completely valid technique, you can do that. The other thing you can do is, just like I've been doing here, by adding water, you can add water to the front of your paper, flip it over, and then stick it down and add water in the back. So I guess technically that's the back when you're finished, but you're adding water to both sides of the paper, and that really helps things stay in place. Now I have my wells here, and I'm going to pull out some colors. First of all, I don't know what these are. I don't speak Chinese, so I don't know what they actually, like the names of them are. So we will just call it yellow and green and blue, a darkish blue. I'm going to activate these with a nice amount of water and get them all marinated up. The other thing I'm going to do is spritz 3 of these wells with some water. I also had brought over a little jug if I wanted to pour water in, but the spritzer works really well actually. Amy says, I never thought to mask it out around the metal die. I'll need to remember that. Awesome. So let's mix these up. Can you see? Yes, you can. And it's super pigmenty. And I'm going to mix it in here with the water. Really good. And take the excess off my brush. I'm going to do the same with my green. And my blue. In fact, I might even go for a darker blue, but this will do me to start with. Okay, actually, no, I am going to go for a darker blue. Changing my mind, changing my mind. I think this is a blue. It looks like a black on camera, but I think it's actually a blue. Almost like a navy blue. All right, so how is my background? Is it nice and wet? Because that's what we want it to be. All right. So I'm actually going to take another flat paintbrush, and this one's slightly smaller. And I'm going to pick up my yellow. And I'm going to draw some streaks up from this bottom left corner like this. Looks like a little sunburst. With my green then, I'm going to come in between these a little bit. And I'll mix up whether I'm holding my brush flat like this or at an angle down here like this. So I get different kind of streaks happening. Like so. All right. Hold up this at an angle, and you can see these colors are now traveling down towards this bottom corner because I'm holding it on an angle. They're blending it together. You can do it this way too if I like. We'll bring in some more yellow. And Tracy says, love that yellow, like butter. It's like butter, you're right. And let's again do a little drippy. Now where the colors mix together, you get this nice sort of bloom effect, which I'm a real fan of. I like that a lot. Now I'm going to add some more green. And one thing that you have to remember is when watercolors dry, they dry much lighter than you think. So don't be scared add more. The other thing about watercolors is you will definitely go through a process of this is fun, and then it will be okay, that's not how I expected, and then it's, oh, I think I've ruined this, and then it's, oh my gosh, this looks like an absolute hot mess. And then it like comes back to life again, and it's all fun. Right. So I'm going to add some blue, and I'm scared, essentially. Let's get some of that. Oh, paintbrush, not paintbrush, paper towel. Pick up some of that excess water on my tape. There we go. All right. So bring in some of this blue color. And bring it down towards this corner again. And the important thing here really is not to overthink anything. We are not overthinking. Repeat after me. We are not overthinking. We are just doing. Where do you think you're going? Hey, Yells Yells. Amy is saying, I like the color choices. Good. All right. I'm going to, I think, leave this to dry. We're going to something else on our card. And then we'll come in and we'll do a second color of this little guy. Put these to the side so I don't forget which colors I have used for that. All right, let's go back to this view and, oops. Okay, so for the moon, actually I'm going to need this. And I'm going to take a black color, I think, or a blue, black. Okay, let's use this black here. And it's just a normal black, and I might actually add a tiny bit of blue on it. I'm going to pop this in here so you can see it. So I have mixed some black on my brush, popping it in there. I struggle with how to paint that moon and always question how it should look. It says Amy. Okay, so let's add some water. There's a reason why I should put the water in first, because otherwise it bounces up around the place. Okay. Another good tip is to have a little scratch of paper nearby so you can practice on it. Now, I want to add a bit more of, I guess, an interesting tone to this. So let's add some blue into it. I'll just push that down into there. Maybe take some of this ultramarine blue as well. Right, let's push this all together. Ooh, that's coming out quite navy at the moment, so not what I was going for. Too much blue. Too much blue, that's okay. Maybe what we need is like to make it more purpley. So let's add some pink to it. See what happens. Still bluey undertones. Are you using watercolor paper or cardstock? This is the paint on watercolor card by Claire Fontaine. It's what I use for my what is the word? It's what I use for my ink blending. All right, so I'm getting more happy with this. The first color was black mixed with some water. The second one was when I added some blue. Then the third one is when I added a little bit of that pink, that sort of magenta color. And then the fourth one was when I added a bit more of that pink magenta color. So let's go and add a little bit more, because I like it to have a bit of a purpley undertone. Yeah, that's really good. Okay, so first of all, this is my color that I've mixed. I'm going to ignore this. I'm going to take this one here and pop it into a new well and spritz it, because I want a really light color, a really light value. So I'm going to make this really watery. And then we're going to paint our whole moon with this light color. Now, I'm also not going to go right up to the edges. Moment. Or maybe not even ever. There we go. Like so. Okay, that's looking good for me. Now I'm going to take some of that darker color and mix it into the light color that I've got. So now I have that same color, but it's in a darker value. So that means it's the same color, but it's a darker tone, a darker version, I guess. And I'm going to just dab it around different sections. And just have fun. Now, same again. Pick up some more of that original color and mix it in to here. Or take some of that original color and add it. I really like it when it blooms, which is when it goes out. Big fan of the bloom. And tap it on. And if certain areas are no longer wet, you can come in and add some water using a clean paintbrush. And it helps it move along. Yeah, the paper is warping. You can see me pushing it down. It is warping a bit. I definitely recommend taping it down. Okay, now, do you remember earlier where we made a little Q-tip with our paper towel? You can do that again. Dip it in some clean water. And then dab it onto your moon. And it will actually remove the ink, I'm saying it again, remove the watercolor in certain spots. And you can get some cool effects. For example, if you wanted to do like little lines, you could also just use a paintbrush to get some clean water. And pick up the ink, the paint, and then wipe it off on tissue. Like so. The other thing, which of course you can do, is pick up some of this white paint. And add that in certain sections. For some interest. And there's a good white one in the Gansai Tambi. There's also a pearlescent white, which is very cool too. And you'll get the best sort of blooms if your cardstock is still wet. So you could give it a little spritz if you want to. And feel free to maneuver that paint around using a paintbrush. But what we're going for is variation of color and interest. And you have to remember that the moon is a very organic thing. So it's not going to be flat, is it? It's going to be all lumpity bumpity. Now these big craters, if you think they're going to be dark craters, come on in with some black and color that in. Someone on Facebook is saying, Leslie, this is looking fabulous. Thank you. I think coloring in those craters dark really makes it kind of pop. Gives a lot more depth to the moon now. What do you guys think? Marcy says, I was going to say that too. That looks amazing. Thank you. All right, so let's pick up some more of the paint using a little makeshift Q-tip. So we're going to just push it into a point, dip it into some water a little bit, and give it a little scrubby scrub. There we go. And some more of this white. All right. And honestly, guys, just keep going until you're happy with it. I would like to create almost like a little shadow, like a sea shadow, you see? But don't forget, it's not just like a flat sea. It's, you know, add some other shadows elsewhere as well. That's what's going to give you that more realistic look to it. All right. So that, I would say, is pretty much done, you guys. Now, for the glass, I'm going to bring in my clean paintbrush and I'm going to wet this area, but not go up to the line. Not go up to the line, you guys. And we're kind of going to do the same sort of a wash kind of thing. This is a tealy color. Pick some up, pop it in here, pick up some water for it, and I'm going to paint a very light bit of glass here, super light, this green color. I can't even tell if you can see this. I can go to 3, but it's so light. It's gonna need a couple of layers, I think, as well. Amy is saying, I love the realistic look. Cool. That's what we're going for. We want you to love it. All right, so while those two things are drying, let's see if we can color in our spaceship. Guys, what color should we have our spaceship? This is what our background is looking like so far. We're going to come in with another layer on this. However, it needs to be completely dry, and it is not. Touch it with the back of your hand if it feels cold. It is not dry. We need another layer on. Oh, sorry, wrong view. We need another layer on this. This is what it's looking like so far. Touch the back of your hand to it. It is very cold, so it's not dry yet. So we'll leave it aside to dry a little bit longer. And we can hit it with a heat tool if need be. But let's see what we can do. Yells is saying metallic colors. So I do have like pearlescent paints. These kind of guys. But are you thinking like pearlescent like grays and stuff? Or what have we got? We've got reds and yellows over here. We've got greens and blues in the background. So we could go for pinks or purples. We've definitely got purples in our moon. Or we go for the grays. Oh, okay, we've got some metallic grays. All right, let's do that. So this is black, cool gray 9 and cool gray 5. And I do have a little swatch of these boys. Definitely more room. And shout if you want me to swap the camera angle over. Okay, so for these ones then, let's just go ahead and activate. Get them going. This will give a nice shine to our UFO. Can you see it being all shiny on the camera? So one of the reasons that we use paint palettes rather than just going straight from in here is that it starts to dry immediately. And then as it starts to dry, it becomes more pigmented. You'll see the first time I pick it up, it's quite watery, and then when I come back, it is less watery. Now, I can get around that by just picking it up, putting it on my work surface or whatever, and using it like this. Oops. That would work too. Right. This is the darker one. Oh no, I must have mixed them up. This was the lighter one. Oh, rubbish. I'm going to put the darker one on top. And then the black. Come in on the sides. Same sort of philosophy as other coloring mediums. Put some shading on the outer edges, etc. Now, you may notice that because this has mica in it, the pearlescentness, it has gone over those little dots at the bottom and you can barely see them. I'm still a bit scared to move this because my moon might run, but you can barely see the little dots, little circles at the bottom. Don't worry, when that dries, we'll come in over the top and color them in with another color. In the meantime, however, can you guys see how light this is? Definitely a different color on the inside from the outside. Is really light. But let's come in again with another layer. Start from the inside near the dog and make our way out. Like so. Oh, don't go to the edge. And like before, we're going to use a clean brush to pick up. You know the way sometimes you get that little shine mark, little curvy. You can pick up some of the watercolor like that. You can do the scrub technique where you put some water down, scrub it, and you can pick it up like this. That works too. Don't worry too much because what's really gonna, I think, make this look good is when we add some like white to it. That's gonna help. Right, this is almost dry. And I think we should color in the rest of this in a fun color. So here's a magenta. Suzanne is saying, what a cool color palette. And the shine is going to be so fun. Yes. I hope you guys are enjoying this. It's a little bit different for me. It's always fun to do something different. And Yells says, you're gonna make me want to take my paint. That's the idea, guys. Get you crafting. Now, I haven't gone right the way up to the top of the line of this one too. Let me see if I can give you a better look. But that's okay because I quite like the way it looks like a shine. It looks like a little shiny then. And that is pink, so that goes in my warm waters over here. Amy says, I love that you're switching up mediums. Thank you so much for reminding me there's other things out there. And we're gonna go for, I think we're gonna go for a purple for the light underneath. Or like these little guys underneath. Whatever they're called. So pretty. And my pink is not yet 100% dry. I'll add some little dabs of this light pink pearlescent paint. Here. And then come in again. And that same paint, pink paint on the top. And I'm going to leave the little dabs on the bottom because they kind of look like rivets, which I think is really cool. Okay, I think we need to add a little bit more of that black to the outside. It's starting to look really shiny and metallic, guys. It really is. Loving that. Now there's a tiny little control panel here and also some of these dots at the bottom. Now remember what we did with our Q-tip. The other thing you can do is take like the end of a paintbrush. Of course I can't find one that's actually pointy. The paintbrush that's pointy like this is that you can wrap it around the paintbrush and then dip it. And then dab away that ink paint, I mean. I find it just as easy to use. A little twisty. Or you scrub it away. You take a little bit of water, you drop it on that little circle, and then you lightly sort of scrub the surface of the paper like this. Just pushes some of that paint away. Now, let's go and use this yellow color to do those lights. Someone on Facebook is saying fab watercolor. Thank you so much. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to color this whole panel as well. Like so. And I'll come back and color the little lights on that. I will come back and color that using probably purple, little purple dots on that to match the bits underneath. Okay, where are we at, you guys? Pop this to the side for now. And this as well, this belongs over here. And let's see how our background is faring. Still cold, which means it's still needing to dry. Now, in order for us to do our second layer, we want the whole thing to be completely dry. If you don't let it be dry, what's going to happen is we're going to reactivate that paint and it'll run. It's a bit like that scrubbing technique. It can actually remove the paint, which we don't want to happen. We want it to stay there. Suzanne is saying the background is beautiful. And someone said, love that background as it is. It looks pretty cool, huh? Well, I want it a bit darker because these guys are in space. So I want it a little bit darker. It still needs a little bit of dry time. A wee bit more. All right. So we had our colors over here, and they're already starting to dry. So let's go ahead and give them a little zhuzh. And we will add some more. Oh, I just realized I forgot to wet my paper. We're going to wet our paper. Once again, we're going to wet our paper. Like so. And now we're going to, and I think I was using this one earlier. Add some colors. And layering these colors is really going to make it be fabulous and make it pop. And remember what I said, it's going to look like a hot mess. Until it doesn't. Amy's saying, thank you for using watercolors. I'm learning some new things that I need to try. Well, that makes me very happy, Amy, because I am by no means an expert. Absolutely not. So if you're learning things, that makes me very, very happy. All right. pick up some of this blue. Bring that into this top section, and I'm really puddling it. I'm gonna let this fly. Try to catch some of these runaway boys. And if we want, we can even add some of that darker tones up here too. For me, it's kind of more of a way of using up the paint I've already mixed. Give it a little shake. Luciana's here and says, oh, hold on. Mel says, I switched to YouTube as Facebook never shows who's coming in. Thanks, Mel. And Amy says, do you think you'll bring your watercolors out on a future live? Yeah, I think so. I think with my lives, because I like start my lives at like 9 o'clock and on a Friday, like I don't know, I had the idea when I was a young lassie and I'm finding it harder sometimes to get through late nights. My midnight sessions are harder to get through. So with lives, sorry, not with lives, with watercolors, it's more of a slow process. There's a lot of coming and going. And I have to say, it's definitely worth it because the outcomes are just fabulous. But a bit like you, who doesn't like alcohol inks as much. I love them. So I'm not saying no, but I do know that I navigate more towards using like alcohol markers and things. All right, back over to the side for now. Let that dry. Okay. This is looking good. I've got to do my little dots on that, but I think I'm going to leave that for the moment, and I'm going to trim these down. And I think we'll cut them out. So this one here, we're going to use the little dome. Oh, I've lost my comments. And like I say, it's going to cut off his overhanging cape at the bottom, but that's cool. We're okay with that. We're fine with that. Mel is saying, I love your nails and the background. So my nails, I mentioned these last week. If I'm not sure, or maybe it was on Monday. That these are they're semi-cured gel. So they're like stickers, and then you stick them on. So I really didn't know how they were going to fare. It was definitely an experiment, but I really love them. They're doing so good. I'm very happy with the outcome. They've only been on a week, so I can't really say whether they have a lot of longevity in them so far, but no issues at the moment. When I first put them on, I was like, oh, I don't like these. It feels like a sticker that's going to fall off. And then you put them under the gel lamp for like 60 seconds or something. And I was like, oh yeah, I don't think I like these. And then, I don't know, about an hour later, they felt perfect. They felt normal. Really cool. I'm not going to be able to use the mini die cutting machine with this one. Oh, I've just realized, where did my other guy go? Couldn't find that for a second. Put that on there. Luciana says, I hope you do something like this, but I know I'm not so good like you. Now, I think you can do what I did here, because it is, you know, we talked about some techniques today, mixing your colors and then adding water to it and having the same sort of, like this, I mixed with water and then I put a little bit in here with more water, and then I darkened it by taking the dark one and putting it into the light one, and then so this was getting gradually darker and darker, and that's how we built up all this color on the moon. And I think you can do it. I have faith in you. Will it look like a hot mess for a minute? Yes, it will. But will it look awesome when it's all done? Yes, it will. That's just the process you have to go through when you're watercoloring. Oh, big shout out, by the way, to everybody who was helping me try and figure out the Gemini, what's the word? The cutting plates. We were talking about the cutting plates the other day. And yeah. I have got some of the green cutting plates in my cart so that I can hopefully do away with these curvy plates, which drive me nuts. Okay, so there's one side done. Amy says, I respect all mediums. I always learn something, or I come to chat. And Mel saying, I'm still loving Heffy tape too. Yes, I love Heffy tape, amazing. But I do not want this to move as it goes through my machine with my curvy plates. So I've broken out the washi for this. I'm trying really hard not to get it onto my watercolored thing because it will definitely rip my watercolor paper if I put it on it, the washi tape. All right. Ooh, and there's that bit where it didn't quite meet, but I'm just going to rip it apart because it's so tiny whiny little join. With my scissors if I like. Still a little bit of dampness in here, but that's okay. And in fact, what I might do is spray my moon with some pearlescent pearls. Create a little bit of space first of all. All right, so in here I have got some pearlescent pearl powder mixed with water. I'm going to just spritz that ever so gently, and I leave that to dry because I just want the tiniest little glimmer. And I don't really want to reactivate all that water and stuff just yet. Okay. So these little guys, I'm going to add some white accents using the opaque white ink. Now this is an ink from Copic. You see me use it a lot because I love it. And I'm going to use an itty bitty brush. This is a 5/0, and this is actually a brush which is from a nail art set. So. And you can use a gel pen, but I really like using this. Gives a nice opaque finish. There we go. Little guy out of the way. I need to wipe my surface. All right, same up here. Peggy is saying, love how the moon turned out. And then we've got the real Amy J saying, space doggo, look everybody. Absolutely, but can you see this? It's got a little bit of a shine to it now. It's looking good. Happy, happy. Happy, happy. All right, so let's see if we can add a nice shine to this. My surface where I spritzed it is still a bit damp. There we go. There's still a lot of mica powder over those lines on the those circles at the bottom, but I'm just going to live with that. Looking good. I'm actually going to color in these two white, and then I can paint over the top of them. Amy says, I need to use that pearl powder. It's in my stash, but I haven't even tried it. Oh no. We've also got someone joining us on Twitch. And woofer, yeah, we have a little space woofer happening here. You can see him, he's over there, so I don't smoosh him. Now, what you have to bear in mind is that this guy has no reflections because he's behind glass. But what does have reflection is, of course, the glass. So we're going to draw some curves on our glass here. And you can even go over the doggo, or you can like draw curves like this. And to the side, that also works. Or like at like little streaks like this. But because it's curved, I'm not going to go do too much at an angle like this, because actually the light would go up and over. Okay, let's put my Copic ink away. This has come out, oh, actually I'm going to get that Copic ink out again, because this has come out so nice. He's still a little wet. Let's blast him with the heat tool. Now, let's see if I can give you guys a close-up look of what we've got going on here. Here we have a moon. Here we have a space doggo. A space doggo in a behind a dome. And a very metallic UFO. You see how shiny that is? Shiny. So good. And Tracy's saying that moon would be so cute as a shaker card. You could put an acrylic cover on the front, a grey sequins in it as moon rocks. Yes. The other thing is you could die cut using the dies. Like you could take the background like this and use the dies to die cut into this panel, and then push this down into it. That would be cool. And then you do a shaker over the top. That would be really cool. I like that idea too. Super cute. All right, let's get some more of this white. We're gonna do some like dots and some lines. And in this instance, I'm not really worried about light hitting at a particular spot. It's more about introducing white patches. Add some little crosses, or maybe little stars. Just have fun, play with it, turn your moon around. Do some flicks, do some dots. If you wanted to, you could add a little bit of white on the top of these ridges of all these craters, where maybe there's a little bit of light coming in. It's picking up the light here on the edge of these craters, you see? Don't worry. Just add some of that white in there. At this point, it looks so awesome. You can't ruin it, I promise. Right. How's our background doing? Still wet. So we're going to go ahead and blast it. So we are nearly done with this. I like the touches to the moon, says Amy. It gives it so much dimension. Let's see if we can dry this out a bit. And we're gonna, of course, splatter this. I'm trying to create a little bit of space so I can actually craft. The more this dries, the more it's flattening down. Tracy's saying a bit like the Northern Lights. Yes, that's what we were going for. I like that idea. I think it's doing good. It's doing good. Right, let's get back our Ganzai Tambi. And I'm going to do a little variety. I have the white. Also in my Ganzai Tambi, I have one which is like a pearlescent. What did I do with my paintbrush though? So let's, the pearlescent, oh shoot, definitely takes longer to marinate, as I say. So gonna get this all over my new jumper. Right, let's splatter. In fact, if I hold it this way, near in the direction of the northern lights, I think that would work better. Okay, you probably can't see an awful lot at the moment, but there is definitely some splatter on there. Now we're going to come in with this silver. Oh yeah. Can you see it? Can you see it happening? My phone's getting silvered and everything. Looking good. Okay. And now we dry it again. Because the next step will be to take off our tape and run this through the die cutting machine, which is very exciting for me. Oh, a fan brush is good for splatters. I actually have a fan brush here and everything. Oh, look at that. Delicious. Come on. I think you could just frame this, to be honest. Doesn't it look lovely? There we go. And using the heat tool on it while you're pulling away the tape is also a method that can work, because it actually sort of, I guess, warms up the adhesive a little bit and helps it pull away, which is really nice. All right, you guys. I think it definitely needs a little bit of an iron. Let's run it through the machine of destiny. Not really the machine of destiny, the machine of Gemini. The peeling off is so satisfying. Yeah. Mel says, Liz, is that frog tape you used? Honestly, Mel, I went next door and to the, I went next door and into Craig's office, and the toolbox was there. And oh, here it is. And I just grabbed a masking tape. It is frog tape. It is frog tape. Yeah, but I knew that I was going to be doing it larger than my die cut rectangle, so it didn't really matter to me if it was a fresh, nice crisp line. But if that's what you're looking for, yes, frog tape has done the job rather nicely, in fact. Looking good. Okay. So here we go. Here's where we're going to stick this onto our background. Don't time out. There we go. And honestly, if it wasn't so late at night, if it wasn't 11 o'clock nearly with me, I would probably iron this between two sheets of plain paper. But it's late, and I'm going to just use the heck out of my ATG gun and stick this onto top folding note card. Making sure it's lined up nicely. Mel says, fab, I have some of that. I'm happy to know that it works. It does indeed. There we go. That's what we're looking like so far. And so here's my thought. So we're either going to go for a moon off the edge that we trim, but maybe if we do that, we'll lose some of our shading on the moon. So we've got a moon like this. This little guy can be flying. And this little guy can be up here. Like so. And I have a sentiment here, love you to the moon and back. So I think that's going to go right here. Or we go for moon in the middle. And I actually really like it like that. And the reason is as well that this, it looks like all the colors are coming up here. You kind of lose some of this. I guess you could cut it off like this. Does that look okay? I think that would work. Off the edge would be good. That's really cute. We're getting some love for off the edge. So your wish is my command. I'm not going to take it too much off the edge. Something like this, that would work. Looking good. Mel says, I love the off the edge moon. Awesome. And then I'm actually going to, these are already on watercolor cardstock. However, because they have been watercolored, the water does react a little bit with it, and I want them to be a little bit sturdier. So I'm going to die cut another layer of these shapes and double them up. And I'll just stick that together with a little bit of glue. The other thing that I'm tempted to do, guys, is to maybe have this little guy on a shaker element, not a shaker element, a wobble. How fun would that be? Put him on a wibbly wobbly. Hold on, not stuck yet. Wobblers are fun, says Amy. Yelzia says, I thought you were not doing your Friday night. I haven't been getting notifications. We stopped for over Christmas because I've moved up into my new craft room. So we had a lot of work to do trying to move everything, essentially. And then when we moved, we had to figure out some technical challenges that we had. We basically ran cables in the wall to go to the cameras, and then realized that the cables weren't essentially the right kind. They were somewhat the right kind, but they weren't the right kind. So then we had to figure that out. And then we got a new microphone, actually. And we were setting that up. But the microphone itself, because the room was like brand new and it had my worktops and things in it. But it was really echoey. So now I've got a sofa with some cushions and things over there in the corner, and that helped. But I'm just using my previous microphone for now. But the idea was that I would be able to upgrade to a different microphone. What do you guys think? Should I put this sentiment here? He's taller than I expected, or the moon is taller than I expected. So I'm wondering if I should maybe do it slightly different way around. Maybe like this. Oh, wrong camera angle. Should we go this way with the sentiment up here? Shall we do this? Do, 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 do. I like this way. I like it like this. All right, so here's the moment of truth, guys. If my background is not completely dry, my embossing powder is going to go. But we're going to trust in the power of the Aurora Borealis. We're going to do this. Now we're going to add extra anti-static embossing powder, or powder tool, because we do not want any messing ups. Do you hear me? I don't want this mucked up. All right. I hope it works. Opaque, bright white, super fine. Okay. I'm gonna give this a go. Fingers crossed. If it doesn't work, we're gonna have to start again from scratch. Okay, I think it's looking good. I think we might have got away with it. Fingers crossed here. Yells, yells, yells. And this is a slow boy, so it'll take longer, but that's okay. By Jove, I think we did it. All right, so this is going to go. Yellow just says I like the spaceship at the bottom. This guy's going to go up the top. So let's get him a little bit of foam tape to maneuver on. Yells says love it. He's gonna go right here. And this guy, I think we're gonna wobble him. Let me see what I can find by the ways of wobbles. By the ways of the wobblies. Okay. I've got little wobbles and I have a big wobble. Which wobble will wibble? This wobble will wibble, I think. This will be a wibbly wobbly wobble. You can trim these down. BT dubs. That works also. And I always forget, I think it's the heavy one on the top. Yay for action wobblers! I find them entertaining, says Amy. They really are entertaining. Can't resist a good wobble. Something interactive for a card, always fun. Stick that down there. He's got good wibbly wobbly on him. And before I wrap this up, I'm going to add a few more dots, slightly bigger dots. To this card front. I'm also going to take my tiny paintbrush and draw almost like little crosses, little plus signs. So it looks like little stars. So pretty. Yelzel says, where'd you get those wobbles? I got some, but have a metal spring. I got them from the Hefty Doodle store. You should check them out. I love this. This is coming together, says Marcy. That background really gives movement to the moon and the space woofers. The space woofers on the wobblers. The other thing I like to do is draw little like O's. I don't know what it's supposed to be. Maybe it's some space debris. Oh, I like it. I like it a lot. So I'm drawing some. All right. Now, we've come this far, everybody. I just don't think I can finish without doing some diamond glaze on this woofer so that he has a shiny glass. But let's take a little look over here at what we've got. We've got Love You to the Moon and Back. We've got this little guy living his best life, flying through the sky. We've also got this wibbly wobbly woo. And we've got a moon. How cute is that moon? So pretty. Background looks super fun. I love it. I think it turned out so nice. Amy says, I know it was a lot of work. It was a lot of work, but the important thing is that you guys had fun too. And you maybe learned some things today. Amy says, this is all sorts of awesomeness. Yay. Let me finish off. I feel like I need some, what is the word? Like sequins and things on here as well. Definitely think that's going to happen, or sequins or gems or something. See what I can find. Something to give it a little bit of pow. Little pow pow. I've come this far. Can't stop now. So this one is, well, this is Frozen Fractals. I don't know if you guys are aware of Frozen Fractals. It was released as part of our Mega Day as an exclusive, but will be available in our upcoming release next month. This is what it looks like. Super pretty. Lots of blues in there. Lots of blues. And our sparkle mixes have both sequins and diamantes. Come on, man. Where did you go to? I'm just putting the clear ones on here at the moment because it has that like iridescent nature to it, so it picks up the green from behind. And I'm picking up some teeny weeny like silvery ones for the gems. Oh, he doesn't want to leave me. We also have another release coming, as in Manchon, which another set of sequins, another sparkle mix, should I say, called Enchanted Moss. And you guys are going to get a sneak peek right now because I think we need some Enchanted Moss on here for that true Aurora Borealis look. Ooh, look at that. Oh, so beautiful. Definitely going to be a popular one. Here's your sneaky peeky. You can get it to actually not glare. It's going to be so pretty. Let's add some of these on here too, you guys. Someone on Twitch, Up and Atom. Oh, that's funny. Up and Atom. That's funny. It says that's a nice little card you made there. Thank you. Let's stick on some of these little guys. These gems are just so pretty. All right, you guys. I'm going to try and put something heavy on this. Maybe this, so that it stays somewhat flat. That is not going to stay. Quick block, maybe. We shall see. And I'm going to use my glossy accents, not glossy accents, I always call it glossy accents, my crystal glaze on top of this little guy. Who is in this glass bubble. I'm trying not to squeeze out too much, so it's a thin layer. I'm using the nib to kind of push it around a little bit. Like so. And there is a little air bubble in there. I can see it. Let's poke it out. Because there's no air in space, guys. Awesome. But now I can't touch it. I need to wait for it to dry. Amy says, is the crystal glaze really different from the glossy accents? Honestly, no, not really. What I do find is that the Nouveau glaze is much easier to apply. So I pretty much exclusively use it now than the glossy accents. Glossy accents, I felt I was always like squeezing it really hard, whereas this one seems to come out really easy. So I'm happy with that. All right, guys, that's it for tonight. Thanks again for watching. Give me a thumbs up or hit the subscribe button if you want to see more from me. And a big massive thank you and thumbs up for Amy for suggesting watercolors for tonight. Like I say, I really hope that you have had fun and learned some things, and maybe you'll go and pull out your watercolors and give it a try. Just have some fun. Have a great weekend, everyone, and I will see you when I see you. Catch you later. Bye.